things up. Call us to order for March 30th, 2026. First thing we're going to do is silence our cell phones. Second, we're going to remind ourselves that as we gather today, the land on which the city of Hood River sits is the ancestral home of indigenous peoples. This includes the Nez Perce, Umatilla, Warm Springs, Yakima, and other tribes who stewarded this land for generations. We recognize the lasting impact of colonialism and commit to working together for a more just and sustainable future. I'm going to point out that Councilor Rivera is with us online. Hey, Gladys, thanks for being here. Now let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Manager Abigail is in Sitka, Alaska at a conference. I'm so pleased she's up there broadening her expertise to serve us all even better. Dustin Nielsen is serving as city manager tonight. Dustin, do we have any agenda additions or corrections?
No additions or corrections, Mayor.
The main substance of the meeting tonight was going to be the appeal of the Planning Commission's decision about the large hotel by the Hood River News Building. There has been a number of legal developments which exceed my legal expertise, which is not saying much. So I'm going to rely heavily on our staff to explain what's going to happen. I do have a script. So at the moment, I will call the hearing to order. Is that right, Dan? I call to order the March 30, 2026 hearing of the Hood River City Council to hear an appeal in file number 2025-15 by the applicant, Line 29 Architecture, challenging the Planning Commission's denial of a site plan for a hotel at 419 State Street. Let me start with some necessary disclosures by members of the City Council. In considering this appeal, the Council is required to render an impartial decision. This means we cannot have a personal financial stake in the outcome or a bias that would prevent us from making an impartial decision, and we must base our decision solely on facts in the record and criteria in the code. Before we begin, I will call for the disclosure of potential bias, ex parte contacts, and conflicts of interest from each counselor. Anyone in the audience will then have the opportunity to question any of us about those disclosures. For no particular reason, I'll start to my right. Anna, do you have anything to declare at this time? Oh, excuse me. Thank you.
Preface this because there's an ex parte contact I think everyone has been exposed to. It is, I'll call the Plan B project. Alternative for this hotel is a scaled down hotel and some housing units. I think at least 75% housing that it has gone through a pre-app. There's a website and there's been a neighborhood meeting, and it's now crystallized in your record because we received 2 procedural objections, and one of them from Mike Connors goes into some detail about this Plan B. So that's in the record, and it's not materialized as an application yet. So I think all of you have been exposed to it. I think what's in the record describes the substance of it. And so on the assumption that some of you are aware of this, go ahead. You don't need to go into a whole lot of detail because it's in the record already. So I know that's coming. So go ahead.
Thank you, Dan. Anna, you're brave to go first.
Okay, I have no bias and no conflicts of interest. As far as ex parte communications go, this application or the neighborhood meeting was held on March 19th, more than a year ago, March 19th of 2025. And I've had multiple conversations with neighbors and community members in the past year on this topic. Conversations were about, general feelings, people's general feelings and concerns, and I listened. I didn't learn anything factual or new, but I did in the last 3 days receive 24 emails. I think maybe you all did too, 23 in support support, or I'm sorry, 23 in opposition and 1 in support. And I read all of those. But then, yeah, just what Dan mentioned, that's in the record. That's all the that's not really ex parte, but information that I have on this particular matter.
Thank you, Counselor.
Yes, I also received and read the same emails. I read the packet, which has the information about the alternative proposal. I drive by the site daily on my way to work and to council. I'm also, so the property owner, Eagle Newspapers, is my former employer. I was an employee at the Hood River News for several years. I left Hood River News in 2017 and have no financial stake in the property. However, as a former employee, I am very familiar with both the property and the current building. And I, over the past several months, have received, numerous personal interactions with individuals who had interest in this, and I told them the same thing every time. I can't discuss it, and that was the end of the conversations.
Much the same as my colleagues. I have no financial conflict of interest in this matter. I don't stand to profit one way or the other. I believe I will make a judgment based on the facts of the case presented in the record. I don't think I am biased, and I don't think I have had any ex parte contacts that would add additional facts to the matter, like I hear described. Plenty of opinions in the coffee shop and whatnot, but haven't told people which way I'm leaning, or that's for this session, not for that. So nothing to declare there.
No bias, no financial conflicts of interest, no potential conflicts of interest, ex parte, drive by it every single day, aware of the building, the property, like others, aware that there is a Plan B that's been introduced, have not participated or read any materials related to that. Also received numerous emails, did not read the emails to keep away from ex parte contacts. So yeah, nothing to disclose for me.
Grant.
Like others, no bias, no direct financial connection to this. Full disclosure, I own the West Cliff Lodge, another hotel that operates here. It's longest local operating hotel in Hood River. Yay. Drive by or walk by or am in the area every day of this property. Take my daughter to story time at the library on Thursdays. So I'm by the property regularly. The only ex parte contact of factual reference is constituent Joe O'Neill got into a conversation with me about this property and argued that a number of folks that go to the library on a very regular basis use the parking lot for public purpose. And I corrected him and said that it is private property. And so it is not open for just public parking, even though a number of folks historically have been able to use it. I have received a number of emails, as other counselors have, in support or opposition, and no other ex parte contacts or conflicts from my end.
Thank you, Counselor. Amanda.
Pretty much the same, no bias, no conflicts of interest. I'm by the site a lot and have heard of the Plan B, but I don't know many details about it, and have had conversations with people and read emails. So that's.
Thank you, Counselor. Does anyone in the audience or the excuse me, Gladys, thank you, online.
Yes, thank you. No bias, no conflict of
Gladys,
interest.
it doesn't look like you're muted, but I don't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Nope, I'll let you
hear
know,
me?
not yet.
Mm.
It's
Can you-
turning green, says Doug, so it looks like it's talking to us, but Jen, can you?
hear me
lend
now?
any-
Speakers off, perhaps.
Oh, hang on.
Can you hear me
Okay.
now?
Now we
Yes?
got
We
it.
can hear
We
you
got
now.
it.
Yes? Okay,
We got it.
all right.
We solved it. Great.
Great, thank you. No bias, no conflict of interest. Similar to you all, I've received emails that we all have access to, the packets. I too drive by the site, walk by this site, but besides that, nothing else to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Does anyone in the audience or on the council have any questions on any disclosure, ex parte contact, bias, or conflict of interest, or otherwise challenge the participation of any member of the council? Yes, Grant.
Just before we get going, just wanted to do one thing really quick, just to help everybody out and take care of something real quick. I even wrote it down. Before we proceed, I want to be, because this is such a fun issue, I want to be transparent with the public. I am choosing to recuse myself from this discussion and this application. This is not required by law. I may be recalled to council should I need be. But I believe this community, the community's confidence in this council's decision matters more than my participation in any single vote. When there's any reason, even some significant perception, given my industrial involvement and whatnot in this industry, that my involvement could in any way cast doubt on the outcome, stepping aside is the right thing to do. I want the public to, and the applicant to know that this decision will be made on its merits by people with no reason to be questioned, and this is what Hood River deserves. So,
Thank you, Counselor. A self-challenge. I didn't actually. Yes, Dan, go ahead.
Normally, Grant would have to like step down from the dais before we launch into the hearing, but as you know, we have procedural matters to deal with first. So I think it would be appropriate if he wants to participate as the procedural objections are resolved and then step down for the reasons he stated, unless any of you have an objection to that, or the members of the public out there, they can weigh in on these disclosures as well right now.
Thank you. What's your preference, Green? I'll let you do what you feel comfortable.
I'll just head out right now. That's fine.
Great, thank you. Seeing no others, the notice for tonight's hearing. Excuse me. Thank you, Dustin.
Anyone online
Like Mike Connors?
or applicants, attorneys for council or not attorneys for council?
Nobody's online?
So we've got signups here, but I don't think this one. In the public.
Yes. Don't feel shy. I mean, this is how this works. Would anybody like to say any? Great, I'll carry on in that case. Thank you. The notice for tonight's hearing reflected the process described in our city code, which doesn't exactly fit the dynamic we have here, where the applicant appeals a planning commission denial that was based on a single criterion. The notice anticipated a closed record with summary oral argument only by the applicant who has appealed. After the notice was issued, however, we received 2 procedural objections. And if you're saying, what am I talking about? I'm also quite saying, what am I talking about? This is like a legal thing that's happening now that feel free to, our lawyers here to provide. 2 procedural objections from opponents to the project who also wish to provide argument in the matter. These parties ask for the opportunity to present argument to us in this appeal. Let me turn this over to the city attorney and city planner for their recommendation on the proper process. Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you. When figuring out the process to follow on these local appeals, you follow your code, which is supposed to reflect state law and the statutory procedures for public participation. And I think it does sort of, but your code anticipates something other than an applicant who is denied at the planning commission level and appeals. And so the process that the code provides is what is in the notice. But the procedural objections we received were from people who want to, the objection I think is based partly on the fact that the applicant can provide summary legal argument that they would like to rebut anything that the applicant might say to you in a summary legal argument. And number 2, urge you to adopt the planning commission's decision. Because in theory, and your code doesn't really reflect this, but in theory, you could come up with a whole different decision that no one anticipates, and everyone in the audience, their head would explode if you did that, but it's happened. It's happened. And then you can get all kinds of procedural objections depending upon whether and to what degree people were allowed to participate at this second level. Because understand at the planning commission, there were how many hearings? several hearing nights with oral argument and public comments written and zoomed in and presented personally, largely in opposition to the project. And so this proceeding anticipates that it'll be based on all the evidence that's already in the record. So no new evidence should be part of what's going on. That's why that Plan B episode was sort of important to get that out there. It's not evidence that's material to this application. It's just out there as a pre-application conference. But also the applicant has appealed the single issue upon which the Planning Commission denied this. And if you were to conjure up a whole different decision, people would say, hey, I didn't appeal this decision, the Planning Commission's decision, because basically I won. And now I'm kind of not happy that you've come up with a different grounds for this that was not anticipated below. So all that makes sense to me. And in order to provide that opportunity, I don't think you can hold this hearing tonight, because what we're going to recommend is that you provide people an opportunity to present argument to you. We're not necessarily recommending oral argument, but written comments. And because people didn't know that coming into tonight's hearing, they're here tonight because of the notice of appeal. So they read the notice. They may have an opinion that it kind of cuts them out of the process, and it does. And so they may not be prepared to present their argument to you anyway tonight. So we are recommending that you continue tonight's hearing. Don't take any public testimony tonight. Continue the hearing until the next meeting, which is April 13th, at which time we still think it's important for the applicant. The applicant has the burden of proof. Did it at the very beginning, did it at the Planning Commission, and even on appeal, even if the applicant had won below and the neighbors appealed, the applicant still has the burden of proof at the end of the day, at the end of your decision. So the applicant should be allowed to explain their case to you, not present new evidence, but explain their case to you, because they have that burden. And if it had the neighbors appealed, they really don't have a burden of proof under Oregon law. They may have the burden of persuasion before you, but not the burden of proof at the end of the day. So we recommend that you continue this until April 13th. At that public hearing, take summary oral argument from the applicant so you can understand what the basis of their appeal is based on evidence in the record already. And then our recommendation is to not let any further oral argument happen, but rather leave a record, accept written comments for a week, for 7 days after that. And for people in the audience, my experience as a hearings examiner is that people think that it's very important to make oral testimony. But in this case, this is a quasi-judicial case, and this is going to come back. Our recommendation is it comes back for you to make a decision on the 27th. You'll have that weekend before the 27th to digest the record and all the arguments. And if you have people's written comments, written arguments, rather than what did that person say, or I've got these bad notes from the hearing, but written comments. And that's why I always put more stock in written comments. And our recommendation is leave the record open for written comments for a week after the 13th until the 20. Do I have the dates right? The 13th,
Yeah,
and then
April 20th.
the 20th. For people to submit written comments until 5 o'clock on the 20th. And then after that, the applicant gets not the full 7 days, but opportunity to present written final rebuttal after it's all in. They get the last word because they have burden of proof. So you can reconvene on the 27th, have the whole record. You've got everything coming to you from the Planning Commission. You've got the appeal. You have heard summary oral argument from the applicant on the 13th, and then written rebuttal from everybody who cares for a week after that. So you have it all before you can digest it that weekend before the meeting on the 27th. So that's our recommendation.
Thank you. Counselors, do you have any questions for our attorney? So to my neighbors in the audience, Gladys, okay, yep.
I do. Thank you. This information is really helpful, and I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time to ask, but as we think about the code update, how are we using the example of what is happening here, either to loosen the language of code moving forward, tighten the language? Just curious how
We'll
this
certainly change
situation-
it.
Yeah, I think it helps inform it. I think that you have a long way to determine how it informs it, but certainly we don't want to miss an opportunity to use our experience to inform the legislative part of what you're going to look at.
Because you get these appeals like once every 5 years or so. You don't get, it's more the experience for you people, because you don't see it very often. And you're left with the code that's a little antiquated and doesn't anticipate, there are like 13 different ways these appeals can come to you in different postures. And it doesn't anticipate that, like this one. And Mike Connors correctly pointed out that, hey, it's under your code, the appellant applicant gets to argue twice. Like, what's with that? So
Yeah, I've never had this happen in my 7 years of being on council. And so as we think about updating our code moving forward, just what can we learn from this experience to update that language there? Thank you.
a lot, hopefully.
So to my neighbors in the audience, what I'm hearing our lawyer recommend is that we're not going to take spoken testimony tonight or on the 13th, but please write to us and let us know what you would like us to know. We're going to hear from the applicant on the 13th. We're going to leave the record open for written input. And then on the 27th of April, a month from tonight, we're going to decide. Is that right?
Right, and what's before you is an appeal. So the applicant appealed as kind of a single issue. It's a compatibility issue. That was the basis for the planning commission's denial. So that should be the focus of people's testimony. No new evidence. There's lots of evidence in the record already about what's compatible, what's not compatible. And so you might also hear people advocate, and it's appropriate, that supports the planning commission's decision. Just in the off chance you come up with a whole different reason for, say you were to approve it for all grounds, that people say, well, that wasn't even on the table. So the people should be able to advocate in favor of what the planning commission did as just a general matter. But the focus is the one appeal issue that the applicant raised.
Okay.
Comments should be received in the normal public testimony manner, writing to the city recorder. Or
Dustin is the keeper of the record. So how do you want people to, if the city council accepts public comment in written form, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can submit it to the city recorder or to planning at cityofhoodriver.gov.
but not to us individually.
Not to
Right.
city councilors.
It should be
Right.
directed to the staff.
Right,
So,
by
well-
5 o'clock, and what we're recommending is 5 o'clock on the 13th. No, by 5 o'clock on the 20th of April is how it will play out. If you
And
continue this till.
and I can walk through it in sequence too, Mayor, once you get to a point.
Right.
After you discuss.
We've got some comments out in the.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions from counselors? What we are ultimately going to have is a motion to accept or not accept the staff's recommendation of the process. That's the end. That's the end goal of this moment in the process. We have decided not to take more oral testimony tonight. I know some folks have signed up for that. What we're asking for is written testimony, if you would like to chime in.
Right, and so it's important for all of you to understand the procedural sequence that we're recommending. And if you have any problems with that, and then ultimately the public, if they understand the procedural sequence and if they have any objections to that as well.
Should I ask about that in this moment?
Is this procedural sequence well enough crystallized in your minds? Okay, yes, so see what people think about, like here's a person, right?
So I want to understand, I'm sorry, people have showed up and I appreciate you. We're inviting folks to give us their opinion about this process the lawyer is recommending. Please, come on up.
Hi, good evening. I'm Mary Ellen Barolotti. I'm one of the persons that wrote the procedural concerns. I'm not here to argue for or against the merits of anything, but I just wanted the council to understand that an issue for me that's very important is public participation, and it sort of borders on like due process. People with standing at the Planning Commission spend a lot of time, effort, and money to present their point of view. And usually, in my experience anyway, I am a retired public county attorney. At the appellate level, on both levels, as a give and take. Here you have the appellant able to speak, then the applicant, then the appellant, then the applicant. Now, those are all the same person. So the developers get 3 bites at the apple and the public gets none. So I'm glad to see that you've recognized some unfairness there in this process. I still believe that people should be able to give oral testimony. You can determine people with standing based on their participation in the hearing below. But I think it seems cumbersome to have one hearing and then another hearing and then a rebuttal hearing and then your decision. It seems like it could all be done more efficiently. But in any event, if that's your decision, the other thing is how will you notify the people who are on your mailing list as quickly as possible, I hope, as to what your procedure will be. And I would assume the mailing list would be pretty long since there were a lot of people that participated in the planning. So I'd like clarification on notice as well. I know a lot of people didn't get the 43-page decision. So all they read was the developer did not prevail. And so I don't know that they would have even looked more to see what was an appellate issue. I recognize, and I will share that with people that I know, that it's on the record, it's not de novo. In other words, you can't bring anything in. People didn't appeal, for example, the parking decision of the Planning Commission. They didn't appeal any of the other findings. So they theoretically, because your code says it's on the record review. Most jurisdictions that I'm aware of have de novo review. In other words, the Planning Commission is sort of like an advisory body, but the council hears new evidence. I understand that your code, and I'm not arguing about that code. I understand your code is record review, and it should be very clear, I would think, so people don't waste their time arguing about parking or something like that. They could be telling you what the finding was, it wasn't compatible, and the elements that go into what compatibility is. And those were the arguments that the people who are still opposed to the project should be focused on. And I'll try to share that as much as I can. I'm not a part of any organization that's being represented. I'm, as I say to people, I'm not licensed in Oregon, but doesn't mean that I have to keep my mouth shut. So I appreciate Mr. Nelson's responses to the communications we've had. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Would anyone else like to give comment about the process being suggested? Please come on up.
So I'm Susan Froelich, and I love what Mary had to say. I agree with everything and mine's going to be really simple. When you all have busy lives and you get a lot of information printed and letters, and hopefully you have time to read all of them. But sometimes you don't. Life happens, right? When people are allowed to speak, you hear that, and you also hear the emotion behind what people, and I know it's a one issue, but if the applicant has the ability to speak, I think people opposing that should be able to speak too.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to this? Come on up, sir.
Yeah, my name's Warren. I'm a neighbor up the street.
Tell us your last name, please.
Warren Johnson.
Thank you.
So I've been at pretty much every hearing and written a couple responses to the inquiry. A lot like what you said. I think that having the opportunity for the applicant to speak and not the public concerns me. If you had been at all of these hearings, you would have heard a lot of different opinions, and I think to your point, it comes out when people get a chance to talk about it. So my concern is that they're gonna speak and the public will not have that opportunity to speak to you directly. Secondly, I'm a little concerned that I've heard these guys, the applicant speak a number of times. And are we having them focus just on the one issue that around compatibility? Or are they going to be allowed to go through all of these other elements as well? And if they're going to be limited to that, who's going to take responsibility for keeping them on track, right? So compatibility came up a lot in the whole discussion. So those are my main points. So thank you
sir.
for hearing me. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to weigh in on the process that's being proposed?
So Jen, is Mike Connors online?
There's a mic. I don't know if that's.
No, it doesn't ring a bell. I mean, how about the applicant's lawyer? The council may benefit from knowing how Mr. Connors, he raised one of the procedural objections, and also the applicant's lawyer, if she's out there.
Please come on up, sir.
Hi, my name is Kirk Lawler, and I'm curious about the meeting on the 13th. Will it be in this room?
Yes.
And it's open to the public?
Yeah, 6 o'clock. Same. It's an ordinary council meeting, same as.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for asking. At this time, I think the question is, do we wish to proceed with the process recommended by staff?
Maybe if I can respond to some of the comments. Ms. Berlotti I mean, people asked you to hear argument from the opponents, and you're not required to under state law as long as they have an opportunity, a written opportunity is satisfy state law. So it's up to you. You're not required to, but you're not prohibited from it. Our concern is that there were multiple hearings at the Planning Commission, and if all what they said before is already in the record, we would like to not have this as just a do-over. That could be very, very time consuming. That was a big concern as well. And and so we when we got the procedural objections and we decided that we were going to recommend that this be continued, the applicants said they had no problem with that as just a general matter. Right. And I haven't heard any feedback from Mr. Connors. He knew that our recommendations was going to be a continuance and allow more public participation.
Thank you. Anna?
I don't object to the continuance. I think that makes a lot of sense. But and I really appreciate Dan's recommendation about written comment. But I also think it's a nice opportunity to allow people to come and speak to us. And even though their previous comments may have been on the record for the Planning Commission, the record that we're receiving is a summarized, shorter record. Like, I mean, we don't, I'd like us to consider the opportunity of allowing people to provide oral comment at the hearings if they'd like to.
Gladys.
Counselor Cavallari, I had a hard time hearing you, so maybe if you could just chat more directly into your mic. Apologies. But what I did catch you say is that I think you said that you'd be open to hearing verbal comment from folks, and I think that's what you said. I too would welcome verbal input, even though I know it will mean that we have a longer meeting, so not opposed to that. My question to staff is, how are we notifying the community that they have until the 20th at 5 o'clock to submit their comments to the planning email and to the city recorder? Will we have a video, something along those lines that goes up that is very clear about ways that individuals can give their input.
Yeah, we'll work on something for that. Probably a public outward notice of some, not a written notice, but maybe an online. Part of the idea of opening up this hearing as it is to allow those who are participating to see what's next. This is generally what we do is we start a hearing. And if we're going to continue, those who want to participate in the hearing or view the hearing, we will state the date certain, time certain, and circumstances in this hearing to help set that record. So everyone who participated from this point has been provided notice of this hearing. They've been provided links to all the information in the record, no different than the link that you received. So in terms of access to all the documents mentioned before, everyone has had that access and we've updated and maintained that. So the idea is participating in this hearing, weighing in should allow you, and you should be viewing the next one. And we are obligated to set that time and process right now. So hopefully by continuing to be interested in this hearing, you're gonna view that your next opportunity, and we can walk through what that process is again, specific time, once you guys land it.
State law assumes that if people are interested, they'll read the notice for this meeting, they'll show up and they'll hear how it's continued to a time certain on the 13th.
So I heard two of us interested in accepting further oral testimony. I'd like to know, we could find out by taking a vote, or go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to oral, in addition to written testimony. I just, question for Dan and Dustin. If people start speaking in their comments about something unrelated to what they should be speaking about in terms of the appeal, how are we to handle that? And will we provide clear direction about what?
We'll provide you earplugs. You immediately deploy the earplugs. Now, this happens a lot, that there's a single appeal issue that's before you raised by the applicant. No one else appealed, but also because there's the opportunity for a totally unpredictable decision out of you, people should be entitled to advocate for what the planning commission did, which was basically a denial based on this one issue. So that still kind of keeps it focused on that one issue. And people are not supposed to present new evidence, but sometimes, new facts come out in oral testimony. And I don't like to jump up in a black and white striped shirt with a whistle and shout people down, but you'll just have to be familiar enough with the record to know that, wait a second, that's like space aliens were never mentioned in the record below. And so new factual evidence that space aliens are involved in this, that's the new fact. And I need to exclude that from my consideration of this matter. So that's how that sifting happens. It's very awkward because when people get up and speak, it just all comes in. And you've seen those movies where the jury will disregard that what was just said. It's a little hard to unring the bell, as we say. But that's what you kind of have to do.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion.
I move that we take staff's recommendation and continue the hearing, and with an addition of oral arguments being allowed in addition to written.
But by all people on the 13th.
By all people on April 13th at the next hearing.
Moved by Stepina.
Second.
Second by Cavallari. Further discussion? So we will accept written testimony as outlined and oral testimony at our next meeting on the 13th.
Right, starting with the applicants. Because also the focus of people's comments should be to rebut what the applicant says. So, and then leave the record open for 7 days afterward
After the 13th.
After the 13th, a written comment, and then the applicant's final rebuttal after that. I've asked the applicant, can she get it in by the Friday, the 24th, and she said yes.
So that we council can receive it several days before our meeting on the 27th.
You have the weekend.
Yep.
So for mathematically, it's April 13th. hearing from the applicant and oral testimony on matters on the record. April 20th, 5 p.m. will be the last time and date that you can submit. Up until then, you'll be able to submit written arguments on the matter.
Must be,
The public can.
must be received by the city by 5 p.m. on the 20th.
And then 4 days after, April 24th, 5 p.m., the applicant will be able to provide its final written rebuttal. Again, applicant having the burden of proof, which will then be provided to you all.
Yep.
For your meeting, then reconvene on April 27th,
And
6 p.m.
And on the 27th, the applicant will come talk to us.
We don't,
7th? No,
At the meeting, the applicant. will-
that starts the whole problem over again.
no,
They will speak on other
you
people.
will then deliberate on the matters that you have before you.
And neither the applicant nor the public will speak to us on the 27th.
Correct.
Okay.
Right? All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. I'm sorry to the folks who showed up tonight planning to address this in a different way. I found out on like Thursday that this was how this was not going to go and was going to go. So, you know, here we are. Anything else on this matter? Anything else on this matter?
No, we have nothing further. You've continued.
Great. So I have continued or I should now continue?
You've taken a motion and you got an adopted motion to continue the matter based on the
Yep.
schedule you've set forward.
So I thereby have, we have continued this hearing in the manner described. Thank you. If folks have questions, they can talk to staff after. I mean, there's always the balance here. Thank you. The next, we always have business from the audience as an agenda item. I haven't checked the list yet. It may be that folks are here to talk to us about another matter. Okay, okay, okay. Marisol, did you wish to speak? No. Nicole Bassett wants to speak. We're going to hold out just for a minute, Nicole. We next have, the next topic is the Moderate Income Revolving Loan Program from Will. And then we will have public testimony.
Standard.
Let me look. Oh, it's on. I do. Thanks, you guys, for coming. This is the time scheduled for a public hearing regarding ordinance 2095, an ordinance enacting, sorry, there's a little bit of talking, it's hard. So, hey, Dale, it's a little bit hard when you're talking in this room. So please talk, but not in here. So. We have one person left. Jen, is there anybody online waiting to, can you tell? Public okay, good. So that'll be in the same category as Nicole. This is the time scheduled for a public hearing. We can't close that door. I'm sorry. This is the time scheduled for a public hearing regarding ordinance 2095, an ordinance enacting a local moderate income revolving loan program. We will first hear a staff report from Will. Thank you, Will. Double duty. Thank you, Will. I just called you up for 2095.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. So we've talked about the Moderate Income Revolving Loan Fund a few times now. On January 12th, you had a draft ordinance to look over. And now you have a final ordinance for your consideration and adoption. This final ordinance is essentially what you looked at on the 12th, but actually just even stripped down further. So the basic framework here is this is the bare minimum. We're just saying we're going to have a MRL program. It's going to meet state law. We're going to do the things that state law requires us to do as a locality operating a moderate income loan program. And so this will establish it. And then I will be bringing back via resolution the next meeting program like program rules, administrative rules, so to speak. And it's better to do that via resolution because we can update it more easily and regularly, tweak this as we go. So what we have for you right now is essentially just the skeletal legislative required ordinance to get moving with this program. And I know we've talked about it in previous meetings. I'm happy to recap what a moderate income revolving loan fund is, or I'm also just happy to support you with any questions and keep things moving if you'd like.
Thanks, Will. Any questions for Will, first of all? Thanks for coming back, Grant, sorry. So we will now ordinarily take public testimony. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this matter in this room? Jen, or folks online, can you indicate to Jen if you would like to speak on this matter of the moderate income revolving loan program?
No one's online.
Seeing that there is no public testimony, we will jump down and close the public hearing on ordinance 2095, and the council will deliberate on the adoption of the ordinance, including, of course, any questions or comments for Will. Anna.
I just want to disclose that that one of the initial anticipated users of this is a client of my firm's, and so I should probably abstain from participating in this, but because it's just a general program that would be available to anybody, I'm not sure if I should abstain or just say that I'm not sure. That's a Dan question.
Would you like me to call Dan back?
I would.
Okay, 1 second.
Thank you, Anna. Okay. While we're anybody else, I guess no. We'll deliberate once we have all that.
I can just abstain to be on the safe side and you guys can continue.
Okay, Dan,
Go ahead.
we'll pause
That's
on
okay.
that. Dan's on his way back.
That's all right. I'll go ahead and abstain to be on the safe side and you guys can deliberate.
Great. Anna has a client again.
So it sounds like, unless you're biased, and I don't, unless you tell me you're biased in favor or of this, just because of this, your practice area, do you stand to benefit financially in a personal way?
I do not.
Okay, then I think you don't have a personal pecuniary interest in the outcome of this decision.
I just wanted to be sure that, yeah, that it doesn't, it is in the best interest of my client, but it's also a program that would be available to others and would be beneficial to the community at large. So I wasn't sure if this is something.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, I'm struggling to see that it might even be an appearance of conflict like Grant had earlier. Which since he was in the business, you could see it, but I'm struggling to see it in this situation.
Well then, I'll go ahead and kick off our deliberations by saying I think this is a really great opportunity for the support of development in our community, and I'm for it.
Ditto.
Great.
Quick procedural question, since Councilor Cavallari has her question answered. We can also do a second reading tonight as well, since all 7 of us are here and present. Or do we want to just stick with the first?
I thought we'd just do a second reading anyway, because I'm bringing back the program rules via resolution at the next meeting.
All right.
But I think we could if you would like to.
Good idea, Grant. Thank you. So in the motion, any of us could say first and second by title only if we choose, and see if that flies. But at some point we're heading towards a motion if anyone is ready for that.
Well, I might as well just go for it. I move that the city council provide first and second reading of ordinance 2095 enacting a local moderate income revolving loan program under the city recorded portion of tonight's meeting.
I second.
Moved by Councilor Paulson, second by Rivera. I think you said by title only.
First and second, yeah.
By title only. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. So I can bang the thing. Has passed its first and second reading by title only and will become law in 30 days. Right? You'll read it later. So we move it to regular session or whatever. Great. Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Jen. All right, now, business from the audience. Nicole, thank you for waiting patiently. Come on up. Tell us what you'd like us to hear. Touch the white microphone on the edge. Yes, now you're on.
Okay, hi, everyone. I just came here today to introduce myself. My name is Nicole Bassett, and I'm running for Senate District 26. I'm a Hood River resident, and I'm a business builder. So some of you may know me from my work in the Gorge. I had a company called the Renewal Workshop in Cascade Locks in 2015. We grew the company to about 40 employees, and we pioneered circular economy practices here for the apparel industry and proved that innovative businesses can come from small communities. I spent 20 years in the outdoor and the apparel industry doing systems change work, finding problems and building something better. So I'm running at a time when Oregon is facing some serious funding challenges and having to make some hard financial decisions. I've made a lot of hard financial decisions with my own company, with real consequences, with real people. I know you can balance a budget and still hold values and hold people and this planet in line. So that's the experience that I think this state needs, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running. We also need an economy that works for all. We need rural voices heard and represented, and we need immediate and long-term responses to the climate crisis. So I'm introducing myself here today because I'd love to reach out to all of you, and if you're open to it, meet with you individually and hear from where you sit in our community. What are the things that someone who's running for state senate to represent this community needs to hear? I think it would make me a much better senator by doing that. So thank you.
Thanks for coming by. That takes us to the consent agenda, I believe. No, sorry. There's an indication that perhaps there's someone on Zoom who would like to speak. Jen, no one is online? Okay, great. Consent agenda, we do have an OLCC permit, so I will pull that off. I would entertain a motion to approve the remainder.
So moved.
I have, sorry.
Okay, no. Moved by Stepina. Go ahead, Anna.
I have a question about the intergovernmental agreement number 4. So I'd like to discuss that a little further before we move forward.
Okay, so number 2 and 4 are both off. Doug has moved to approve the remainder still. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Gaki. Discussion on the minutes and the sewer contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes. OLCC permit application, as is our custom, one of our counselors abstains. So let's have a motion and a second first. A motion to approve item number 2.
So moved.
Moved by Stepina,
Second.
second by Mitchell. Abstentions?
I abstain.
Can you read the little?
Yeah, I'm about to. I will abstain from OLCC permit applications. This is not a reflection of these establishments, businesses, or their owners. Rather, I object to the fact that we do not have enough transportation options for people who visit these establishments. As a result, they may end up getting behind the wheel and putting themselves and others at risk. I'd like to highlight the broader public health responsibility that this council holds. We recently adopted a code allowing for transportation networks, and that is a step forward, but access remains limited, especially during late hours and in our upper valley. Recently, I saw a report that DUIs account to over 25% of all the cases prosecuted by our local district attorney. If we and our countywide partners are able to provide adequate transportation during late evenings and weekends, I will start approving OLCC applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys. Any other discussion on item number 2? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Item number 4, let's go ahead and move in second if we can, and then we'll discuss.
So moved.
Moved by Paulson,
Second.
second by Stepina. Discussion.
Okay, well, I have some questions. There's three particular projects listed in the memo to us that would be covered by this intergovernmental agreement between the city and the Urban Renewal Agency. And one of them says that we authorized it on today, March 30th, but I think we actually talked about this back in like maybe March 9th. Is that right? But kind of my contract nerd issue with this IGA is that it seems kind of open-ended that it says the city may authorize the agency to perform any program or project that the city has the authority to perform by adopted motion of the Hood River City Council. And I'd kind of feel better if there were some parameters around that, like integration of a schedule that has the specific projects where Urban Renewal Agency would be entitled to reimbursement for their costs and 10% for admin fees. So instead of it just being kind of a big blanket, although I kind of get that that was probably the intent, is we can just always say, oh, this will be covered under the IGA that was adopted by council and the Urban Renewal Agency. But I feel like it seems like we'd want to have kind of a housekeeping record of exactly which one of our projects are covered under this. So I don't know if that's something that you all have any feelings about. I think it's a detail that I think is important, that if this is being proposed to us for these particular projects or maybe other projects in the future, is there a way to actually document that?
I'll just comment that you're exactly right. That's how it's constructed and that was intentional, but if that's not what pleases the council, we could, every time a project comes up, kind of re-adopt this IGA, like maybe with an exhibit or something like that. The intent here was just to allow, motion second, yep, do this project, 10% to admin, and it's a known process, and rather than bring up amendments, getting into like Amendment 2, Amendment 3, Amendment 4, Amendment 5 to the IGA. But both are just as workable.
I think we could just update the schedule maybe, but like I'm wondering, like, from our perspective of like how, like, and from an I guess, like, how will you know which projects are covered under this? And that continues to be brought up to us. Chris?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we actually had discussed something similar, and a proposal as possible is to have a Schedule A to the agreement. The Schedule A would have a list of the projects that are approved along with an approved budget. And then it would just be a very simple sort of motion from council to update Schedule A to the agreement with whatever project is proposed. And so that way sort of Schedule A would be a sort of living document, right? But you wouldn't have to go through and adopt a new IGA every time. It would just be sort of amending the schedule to the IGA.
Yeah, and what that is that table. So this table will be updated, and you can ask for anytime you want to know what's the full list of projects. We'll have it.
So will the IGA be revised to incorporate that table? Because I like the idea of the efficiency, but I just think that it's important that, council be kept, in the loop of like, what are the projects? What are the budget pieces important to? What are we spending on and what's covered under this particular IGA?
Yeah, my advice from agency council putting this together was that if it's part of a specific called out referenced exhibit, then updating the exhibit would then be amending the contract. So, but that's fine. I don't want to spend too much time because it's six one way, half dozen the other, really.
What words would need to change in the document that we're considering approving to reflect the councilor's concerns?
I'll need to revise and bring a new one back to you with that references an exhibit A.
Okay. Is that the wish?
I don't know how everybody else feels about that. That's one councilor's input.
Forgive me if I'm misunderstanding. It seems to me there's a question of sort of broadness and efficiency versus appropriate fiduciary and programmatic oversight and, more work. So I get the arguments. So was Gladys, yes, Gladys.
Yeah, I just said that, or sorry, I am open. I appreciate Councilor Cavallari's comments and would welcome a Schedule A. And it sounds like if other folks agree that this item would be brought to a future meeting and agree with some of the points she's made.
That's two voices. Anybody others want to chime in on that? Grant?
I appreciate the transparency of a Schedule A. I don't know if it's required in this IGA in order for us to have transparency. It could be just included as an appendix or an addendum to this IGA. I don't know if the IGA needs to be reformatted or recreated with an additional condition in this IGA in order to deliver the transparency that we're looking for.
So just to frame the question, in my opinion, at this moment, if you want the Schedule A included, you're voting no on this motion. If you think it's close enough without it, that would be a yes, right?
That level of detail can still be included without modifying this IGA.
Other comments?
Just to say that I have the same understanding as Councilor Paulson.
So hold on, Will, then would we have to give you time to add Schedule A to this? We could just amend it at a future time? Like we can still vote yes today and you
That's
can
not-
still get us that information?
That's not what I heard.
No, well, we can amend the IGA at any time, certainly. Functionally, staff will be operating functionally identically in either case. So we will be keeping a table. We will be updating the table with tonight's motion. It just, yeah. And we will have the table for inspection at any time.
So I think like the resolution I would, or the kind of how I would approach this probably is under that agreement terms paragraph 2, where it says city may authorize the agency to perform any program or project that the city has the authority to perform by adopted motion of the Hood River City Council, as reflected on attachment A, which can be updated, from time to time without amending this IGA. Like, I mean, you could put some language in there, something like to that effect, and I would be happy and we could move on.
Yeah, if we're gonna wordsmith the IGA, I'd say set it aside for a future meeting.
I say we vote this down and set it aside if that's what we want. So if you want to set it aside and bring it back with a slight modification, we should vote no now. Can we call for a vote? All in favor? Opposed?
Should you want me to make a motion?
I thought we had a motion.
Then there was discussion.
One practical consideration is this includes for bond campaign. So if this is, without this, I guess the agency is not authorized to be doing the bond campaign work until it's brought back to you.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Let's not hold that up.
Yes.
But I thought I heard Councilor Cavallari just mention some language that we could all still move forward on what we have today and add language that she just mentioned in a suggested motion.
Yeah, I just don't want to, I want to take any proposed language back to council. And make sure it run past them. I'd say maybe one option is to approve this today, and I will commit to bringing back revised language as an amendment to this after talking with agency council at your next meeting.
How does that strike folks?
I like that a lot better.
So now, if you want that, and correct me, I'm just trying to, vote yes, and then he'll bring it back and we'll make the adjustments that are finding favor. Yeah? Ready for the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye, motion passes, and we'll hear about it again real soon, and bond. Thank you. Takes us to action items. We have some city budget committee appointments.
Thank you. The Budget Committee is comprised of the mayor, city council, and then an equal number of electors appointed by the government body. There are currently 3 vacancies in that the elector body. The city advertised in the Hood River News and on the city website and used word of mouth. to inform the public about the need to fill the vacancies. The established deadline for the applications expired on Wednesday, March 18th. At this time, the city is looking to reappoint 2 of the existing budget committee members that had expiring seats. That's Rudy Kellner and Gary Reed. And then additionally, the city looks to newly appoint former city council member Megan Saunders to fill the 3rd budget committee elector vacancy. These appointed members of the budget committee are designated 3-year terms, which would expire June 30th, 2028. It's our recommendation that that council appoint these 3 electors.
It seems like it should be 2029.
So 26, 27, 27, 28, 28, 29, the 28, 29 council would be done by June 30th, 2028.
3 years from today is March 2029.
Well,
Sorry, I was not following. Let me go to speed.
the last one expired 2020. So the existing seats expired 2025.
They expired a year ago.
Correct.
There,
They
that's,
expire after
there's
end
the
of
math I was looking
budget
for.
committee.
Great, thank you.
So it's 26, 27, 28.
Great, thank you.
All right.
I
I
would
was supposed to be a
entertain-
math guy.
I was like,
No, I was supposed to.
you
ace
see
that.
me
I was
treading
supposed to ace
lightly
that.
there, Ben.
I just want to make a small comment that mentions the Hood News in there, and that does not exist anymore. Columbia Gorge News.
Columbia Gorge.
Sure.
Thank you.
Or went out for my old employee.
Word guy.
Yeah. Together make the city.
I would
grow.
entertain a motion.
I'll move to appoint Megan Saunders, Rudy Kellner, and Gary Reed as members of the city's budget committee.
Moved by Cavallari.
Second.
Second by Mitchell. Discussion? Oh,
I just want to say real quick that I really greatly appreciate Megan, Rudy, and Gary. Rudy and Gary doing it again. Megan, keeping on.
amen.
Bring that city key with you. Thanks a lot. It means a lot that you're all willing to do it.
Yes, yes.
Agreed, me too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, chair votes aye, motion passes. Okay, Landmarks Review Board, Dustin. Similar topic.
Similar topic, Mayor. This is a request to reappoint 2 sitting members that were appointed last year. Both Chris Donnemeyer and Colin Nelson serve on the Landmarks Review, and much like the rotating schedule, they both served a single year as an interim piece. We're now requesting they be reappointed for a full assignment. No, we have a standing advertisement and no additional people have expressed interest in serving.
Discussion or a motion?
I move to reappoint Chris Donnermeyer and Colin Nelson to the Landmarks Review Board.
Moved by Gaki,
Second.
second by Cavallari. Discussion? Again, as like Doug said, thanks you guys. This is important work, part of why our city's so awesome. Thanks for doing it. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. City Recorder roll call votes. Thank you, Grant.
Your Honor, I'd like to entertain a motion for the first and second reading of ordinance 2095 by title only.
So moved.
Moved by Paulson,
Second.
second by Stepina.
Okay, Counselor Polson,
Aye.
Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Stepina,
Yes.
Counselor Cavallari,
Aye.
Counselor Mitchell,
Aye.
Counselor Gaki,
Aye.
Your Honor.
Aye.
Ordinance 2095, an ordinance and implementing a moderate income revolving loan program and authorizing the city of Hood River to enter into agreements with Oregon Housing and Community Services.
Ordinance 2095 has had its first and second readings by title only and will become law in 30 days. Dustin, city manager comments.
No additional comments, Mayor.
Committee reports. Gladys.
I will owe you all an update for our MCAC meeting that took place this last week. I wasn't able to attend and have coffee with Leslie scheduled to bring you all an update. And I will also send you all the link for the point in time survey that was conducted. I realized I have not sent that to you all, so I do owe you all. The other piece that I definitely wanted to discuss and just bring to your awareness is some items are being discussed at the county meeting, one of them being the Amazon warehouse. And so I invite you all to connect directly with a couple of the commissioners so that you can hear directly or tune into those meetings and hear some of the discussions. I personally have been receiving a lot of questions around that. So just wanted to flag that for you all as those discussions continue.
Thank you, Gladys.
Trying to think of, hold on, the other committees. There will be a letter that is going to be disseminated to all local state officials within Oregon around upholding rule of law. And so that will most likely start being distributed here soon, working with the League of Oregon Cities. So it will reach your inboxes. I'm more than happy to chat with you with any of you offline if you have any questions about that. I believe those are all my updates for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. Amanda?
I'm trying to find my MCAD information. Can you come back to me?
We'll take a pass. We'll come back. Grant?
Regional 1 Act meeting is next week on Monday. So nothing until after that.
I think since the last time we met, we had the Saruta Sister City visit. So just wanted to thank everybody that came out for the Sister City event. Thanks to all the people that visited from our sister city of Saruta. Thanks to all the volunteers that came out, all the vendors, everybody that participated in the Taste of Saruta. And we're moving towards a pretty big milestone with 50 years coming up in 2027. So looking forward to continuing that. And yeah, just it's a bit of a quiet period now. We won't hear a ton from that committee, but it'll start reconvening and a lot to plan for in this big next milestone. So thanks all.
Ben?
I attended the CAT meeting remotely on March 18th. Wasn't a ton that came out of it, but most notable was their approval of an application for a grant to pay for 2 new bus stops in Cascade Locks that would be part of the Columbia Gorge Express route. They're both on the east side of town. One stop would be on Wanapa, one on Forest Lane. The funds would be through the Experience Mount Hood and the Gorge's Strategic Investment Fund grant program. And the bus stops will include seating, shelter, and bike racks. So hopefully they get that grant.
It's a little off, but not much. I work for Klickitat County Transportation, and they are starting on Wednesday, April 1st, a bus route through Lyle for the first time, I think, ever. So that's really cool. Lyle's been really hoping for that for a long time, and now you can ride from White Salmon, Lyle, Dallsport, Dalles, and back, and that's big. That's big service for that community. Kind of like Cat, other side. Yep, Anna.
Nothing for me.
Sorry. Did you find it? Thank you.
All right, it's very long, a lot of pages. Okay. I think that I went to a MCAD board meeting a week or 2 ago, and the biggest thing that we talked about was the comprehensive economic development strategy update. And I didn't really know what this was, so my understanding is MCAD puts a list of projects that are high priority together, and being on this list helps you get federal funding more. I don't know. So anyway, Grant, you seem to know more than I do. I did have to ask during the meeting because it's new to me. But so Hood River, so this is over 6 counties, and they can only, well, they have like 10 or 11 projects. So, but we did make the list. The bridges were a huge one. I think that's the first high priority one. So we kind of a part of that. And then, oh geez, where did it go? Okay. Our project that got on the list is the elevated sewer line. So, so hopefully being on this list, we can get some, funding coming up. And lots of other interesting stuff from people. The county has the courthouse building replacement on there, and the port has a terminal building at the airport. I guess it was the most Hood River centric ones.
Great. Thanks for your work on that. Gladys.
I have a question about that. Thank you so much, Councilor Gaki. In the past, Jessica Mehta has joined us at a council meeting to discuss this. Will she do that this year? Or is that something that won't happen until next year, maybe?
Good question. We didn't really talk about it, and I feel like that would be a good question for Abigail.
Yep,
But yeah, it'd be great to have her.
We could absolutely send a message to Director Mehta and see when she's gonna, or have time to visit.
You follow up with Abigail on that, Dustin? Thank you. Already did, yeah, right. Okay, so that's committee reports. I've talked to a couple of you about some interesting sort of longer term questions. I guess I don't know if you're going to bring them up, so I'll just wait. No comments at this time. Council comments, starting with Gladys.
Yeah, thank you. I had a chance to join the National League of Cities conference that took place in Washington, D.C. The 13th through the 18th. And last year when I attended, there were some speakers that were really divisive. And so it was this year, the speakers were really focused on nonpartisan or bipartisan issues, which we all really appreciated. So it's a couple days to connect with local elected officials across the US, and then one day is spent in Capitol Hill connecting with senators, Congress folks, and whatnot around a variety of issues. We have the League of Oregon Cities that help support the local coordination, but it's a wonderful opportunity to connect with elected officials across the US that are having similar challenges to what the city is having on a variety of topics. So it was great to connect with folks. There is another conference that will take place in Nashville in November and would welcome anyone from this council to attend. There's a lot of great information that I feel like I gleaned from there, whether it's how is AI being used in planning, and Dustin and I have had some of those conversations to just, like I mentioned, a variety of topics. So if any of you have a chance to join in November in Nashville, it's always a great turnout and incredible conversations, as well as incredible panelists. And it just reminds me how, with all the uncertainty at a state or even a federal level, how local government truly delivers time and time again. So I just want to thank you all for stepping up to be in this role. I know that it's a lot of hours, a lot time commitment packets, whatnot, that we do take time away from our families and everything else that we have going on. So I appreciate that I'm here with all of you, and that we don't have to agree on everything, and that's okay. It's okay to not agree on all the items, but that we do have to move forward. So I thank you all for your time and your commitment, and for loving Hood River. Thank you.
Thanks for making the time to go to that conference. It's such value, I think, to them to hear from small town council president, and for us to, yeah, well done. Comments, Amanda?
I don't have anything.
Grant?
Since it's so early in the evening, we have plenty of extra time. How are we feeling? Are we feeling good? Okay, let's get right into it. I have sent you guys all a packet that was discussed last time, and then I followed it up with a subsequent addendum of information. And Chris provided us with a little bit of commentary and backup, which you guys have had a chance to read through. So thank you, Chris, for additional information about that. And so I have a little bit of an intro and a few questions for you guys that I'd like to ask before I have a ask of us generally. Um, and this is, some of this is holistic and city building-ish. And this is universal of all cities across Oregon face these same challenges that we face. We're not unique in a number of these issues. If you go to League of Oregon Cities, you'll hear about these issues. State, these questions come up all the time, especially right now. The current system operating as designed will produce the current trajectory we are experiencing. Good news is that designing a better system is entirely within Hood River's power. Challenge we have is willing to do it as city council. So I have 3 questions. Do we accept that the current trajectory produces outcomes that we do not want? That's why I sent the forecast that I sent out. Is the answer yes or no? Do we accept that the incremental optimization of this current system will not produce materially different outcomes? And are we willing to commit to the discomfort of redesigning this system in which we live, accepting short-term friction, political challenge, and the pain of acknowledging what hasn't worked in exchange for fundamentally different long-term outcome? If the answers to those 2 questions are yes, then we should reassess those fundamental structures within our city. We should have deeper, more meaningful discussions and reassess fundamental things and structures in how our city works. Cities have been built at a time to address different conditions, different systems, and those legacy structures and systems were meant to address different challenges in different conditions. And over time, those legacy systems simply just break down and no longer work to address future needs. That's my fundamental thesis for us. So
Grant and I had a chance to talk a little bit more about this last week, and I think it's a very important question as he frames it for us to decide. I was told, and I believe that the scarcest resource in a city is the scant time of the electeds. And so figuring out what we're going to spend time talking about is a very important question. His thesis is that changes need to be made. The way I think of this question is, shall we dedicate a half day or something in the next quarter, 6 months, year to a much deeper, more holistic, big picture revenue forecasting, pondering, existential pondering about what is incremental change going to help us lead our city to survive and flourish, or do we really need to make some changes? And it's a fair question, I think. Anna?
I want to thank Grant for putting that stuff together and sharing it with all of us. And I agree. I think, it's kind of a bummer that we weren't able to figure out a time to get together for goal setting this year. The last time we did that was before Amanda and I actually started on council in December of 2024. Is when we all met to do the goal setting thing. And I know that we all have crazy schedules and it's challenging, but I think this is worth a work session or something if we can. And I think the sooner the better. So I'm in support of if we can try to find a time, even if it's like, if 4 hours is too much, maybe we can do 2 hours a couple times or something. But I think it's worth us trying to figure out some time to get together and look at our current goals and figure out how, what Grant is proposing, how that maybe overlaps. And Chris, I didn't get the response. I didn't see the feedback that you got, but it was part of it. I'll have to look at it again. Yeah, thank you. I didn't see that, but thank you.
Others? Doug?
Well, I've heard a couple times about the retreat and sort of going over the goals. I do want to point out that we are currently under a biannual, work session plan. So if
2-year.
if we want to, yeah, so 2-year. If we want to change that, then I'm fine with discussing that, but I think it's by design currently. So I'm fine with discussing, do we go back to a year? We had a lot of discussions about this when I came out of council and when Grant came out of council about, is once a year too much? So I think there's a lot of discussions to be had about that. So that's one thing. Again, not opposed to discussing that. In regards to what Grant's talking about, I'd be much more comfortable if we had staff present to us based on your assessment. I thank you very much for doing everything that you've done, but I'd like to hear, from Chris, from Abigail, from, from staff before I decide if this is something we should commit time to at this point. If it's something that they would recommend go on the next work plan, that sort of thing. But I would feel much more comfortable with, and I'm fine with putting my thumb up for a staff presentation to discuss what you've presented.
Others? Sorry, Gladys.
Yeah, thank you. I would welcome an opportunity to discuss Counselor Polson's recommendations, in addition to staff as well giving their feedback. I personally haven't connected with Chris on the items that Counselor Polson did send, so I would love an opportunity to just hear some of the items that were brought up and agree that we have to think about what is in the city's best interest. And then specifically to the retreats, we are on a 2-year plan, but I don't think that means that we shouldn't have a yearly retreat where we are planning out maybe a more work sessions throughout the year, and that we can fill those work sessions with opportunities that arise such as this, so that we can sit down and discuss in detail and just more discussion overall as we continue to move forward, knowing some of the financial uncertainties through state and federal moving forward. So would welcome an opportunity to discuss the feedback from Counselor Polson and have staff join, in addition to having a conversation about an annual retreat where we can look at some time to schedule work planning meetings in advance so that we can all align on calendars. Thanks.
I want to get everyone's, Amanda, or Ben, don't have to, but if you got anything to say.
Well, I will just say I have not had the opportunity to actually dive into what Grant sent, so I don't really have much input at this.
Thank you. And anything to add?
I have also not read, as I like to call it, the Grantifesto yet, but I will at some point.
Great. Grant, go ahead.
Just to clarify, I was not advocating on jettisoning the current work plan as proposed. This work is in preparation. We have the current schedule was to have a new work plan or have another retreat or some such thing at the end of this year, and we were allegedly going to have a retreat or something around the start of this year, which didn't end up happening. So this work and what I'm working on is somewhat in preparation of this next work plan and all the rest of the work that is going on, because a lot of what is happening there, we have the strategic work plan that happens every 2 years. That set of meetings is a fairly truncated, short time that we have to, as council, have to condense a whole lot of information, a whole lot of strategic thinking into a very short time. And so I think it is very beneficial for us to talk about some of these issues over a longer period of time than a very truncated set of time over, say, 3 meetings or so in December, to figure out the next work schedule for the next 2 years. So if we just as a group could, or any council just as a group can have more rigorous or thorough conversations about the work plan be it 9 months from now, in preparation or advance of those meetings, just to be better informed when those meetings come, be better.
I was reviewing the calendar. Last year, we skipped a meeting in July and in August. We had one meeting in July in the middle, and then we skipped the one that was near the end of August. It occurs that we could like have one of the summer meetings be this, if just an idea. Chris?
Will also point out, in our budget schedule, the first budget meeting is an informal meeting. It's usually very process oriented, which is scheduled for April 22nd. We don't have any new members or sort of first time budget members on the council. It would be a session with the full budget committee. So it wouldn't necessarily be a sort of a policy conversation. But what I could do is in that first meeting is sort of focus on a 5-year forecast. It will be a more in-depth discussion of the revenues than we normally do in our budget. It would be general fund, it would be mainly general fund focused. Sort of because that's sort of where a lot of the discussion is during the committee. But it would be an opportunity to understand a little bit better the revenues that the city has as far as what the general fund are, the expenses that sort of roll to the general fund, and then obviously this sort of trend forecast that Grant's talking about. Like I said, it wouldn't be policy oriented. It wouldn't be sort of in-depth policy discussions, but it would be a little bit more of an education as far as what the city's operations look like, sort of as part of the budget than we normally do.
That would be valuable to me. The way I sort of am imagining that is what keeps Chris up at night? Like, what are the when you look out with your so much more educated radar, like what are the trends that are really going in a curly way? That seems like that would be quite substantially what that briefing would be on the 22nd.
Yeah, that's what, and I'll try to work with you guys to give you like an outline of what that would be if there's things that you want to say.
When I started on council in 2004, the budget process was like, here's the crisis, how do we plug the hole? Phew. And then next year come back and kind of do that again. We argued for a 3-year, projection. So at least there was some predicting happening, and that's a much better spot where we are now. And this, to my mind, is really, let's run the radar out a little further and see how the trends are going. And I celebrate that context.
I'm not going 50 years.
So, budget committee, I know that like my summer has items on it. My daughter's getting married, et cetera, et cetera. Like, are you guys looking at like, oh, am I here for the second meeting in July? Like, is this on your radar? Is this premature for scheduling and imagining and wondering? I'm not saying you should.
For me personally, summer is like the best time, pretty much. Like that's when my life opens up a bit more. So
I'm available to put in time to work on this.
Yeah, Doug?
I gave tons of availability for the work session. I always give tons of availability in the summer.
So
happy to continue that.
So if we had ordinary schedule for July and had both meetings, maybe there would be space using no less ordinary work time than we did last summer. There would be perhaps we could have this be a topic in July. I mean, that sort of general idea. Nobody's freaking out about that. Doug?
Yeah, I just think it bears, if we're gonna do this, have staff respond, report on what Grant has presented, and we go from there. And if it's a critical project that needs to be prior to the next work plan, and we all decide that, then we all decide that. I think that's, we don't have to say sorry, and we have to wait for 2 years or something like that. And that's not what I'm saying. But I'd like to hear from staff.
Doug has said staff several times. I haven't had other people say staff quite so much. What direction are you guys kind of envisioning? More kind of like staff briefing, like Chris clearly was saying, or the sort of big picture council discussion is I'm kind of hearing Grant say. And
well, what Grant presented is policy stuff, and while it's always very, very helpful to get staff input on things, and I appreciate that, and I'd love to hear Chris's presentation on the budget piece, and I think that stuff is really helpful. This is kind of like bigger scale policy stuff. But like, I welcome their participation and their insight because they're the ones that are boots on the ground doing a lot of the stuff. So I think that's helpful. But I think a conversation in July would be great and a work session would be great.
Others? I've heard from Doug and Grant and Anna, I think, on this topic.
What are you looking to hear about exactly?
More,
Staff?
more staff briefing-ish or more
Yes.
council big talk-ish?
I don't,
That's the way
I think both are equally valuable.
Great, helpful. Thank you. Anyone else?
Likewise, we co-create together, right? We write policy, they do operations, they being staff, and it's important to understand both perspectives so that we as council can be able to develop stronger policies.
Thank you, Gladys. Grant?
Just to clarify, what Councilor Sapien would like to hear from Chris staff is the consequences of these policies, kind of the nuts and bolts of what would come of these proposals.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
To be able to understand staff's perspective on if these policy changes were to be enacted, the consequences, insight into that, short of, like everybody's been saying, we're not expecting staff to make policy decisions, but expect to be informed by staff so that I can make policy decisions, so that we can make policy decisions.
That's actually a really important point because boots on the ground, but also, in my mind, Chris is a subject matter expert to a much greater extent than I am. He has more experience and focus in certain areas. I'm gonna ask him questions before I decide to weigh in on a policy. So the boots on the ground and subject matter expert are kind of different things, so. All right, good discussion. Thanks so much, Grant. Thanks for kickstarting. Anything else on this topic? Which it came up as Grant's council comment. Anything else, Grant, on council comment?
There will probably be more revolving around this going forward.
More whatting around?
More around this topic, I'm sure.
Okay.
Is
great.
that this is a big thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thanks.
Doug?
A couple things. Number one, just wanted to say that I was at the No Kings protest on Saturday. Just wanted to thank all of the organizers. It seemed to be extremely well managed. Lots of people in yellow vests, making sure people weren't tying up traffic. They had routes for people to go to different areas around the main intersection by the fountain. And it didn't seem to impede anybody. So I just thought it was a really good management effort. And yeah, just want to thank everybody that showed up to exercise their free speech. In addition to that, you alluded to a couple people speaking to you earlier. Was that one of the things that I spoke to you about? Okay. If you've been following along in the Dalles with the data center issues, and so on and so forth, there are several areas I could see possibly a data center going in Hood River. I think we should probably discuss a moratorium on data centers, a ban of data centers, something of that nature, so that we're not sort of faced with a quick decision. And something we could debate whether it not has the merit of being in the city, but there's a lot of communities throughout the United States right now that are small communities that are near water that are dealing with this sort of thing, and a lot of the adverse effects of data centers in communities such as ours. So I think it bears us a little bit of attention, a little bit of preemptiveness, so that we're not caught in this situation that a lot of these other small communities are in. So more or less looking for sort of, can we get some staff attention on this to discuss it?
So this sort of process, I think, works well. Someone brings it up and the question is there interest to have this be on a near future agenda? Are folks gonna like that, or folks say, no, this is not an important topic for us to address anytime soon?
I'd certainly like to learn more about it. I'm not sure exactly what that would look like or what's entailed, but I agree with Doug's concern. Obviously, we're seeing lots of stuff in the news about the Dalles right now. So,
and I guess to that point, Ben, my bringing this up would be for staff to give us a little bit of a, well, this is what this looks like. What impact this would have on our time. Do we have time for this now? The kinds of things we could do, the kinds of things we could take into consideration versus bring us a resolution or something like that. That would be a next step.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Gladys.
Yeah, I appreciate the discussion and think that we should have that conversation, given that it also ties into, some of the finance discussion that we were just having earlier. And I understand why some cities welcome some data centers because it does have some dollars that go back to the city, but there are some ripple effects to those. And I think it's important for us to discuss. So as we talk about a potential July meeting, if others agree as well, that we have some dedicated time to talk about some policy decisions that we as a city could and would most likely face in the future.
Seems like there's enough interest. I'll follow up with Abigail. Thanks, Doug. Any other comments?
No, thank you.
Ben?
I attended the youth listening session with Next Door on March 19th. And I thought it was incredibly valuable. I attended it with Councilor Cavallari. I'm sure you have, stuff to talk about as well. It was really well attended by local students who were very candid about how, this ICE incursion in our community has affected them and their friends and their families. And I was really kind of struck by, it wasn't particularly emotional testimony. It was very matter of fact. They were just stating plainly what their lives are like now and what their families' lives are like now. And I was, and I told them this, I was really struck by their maturity. And what I mean by that is that, they're having to bear the burdens of adults in terms of the things that concern them or certain responsibilities that they've now had to take on. And honestly, it's, much more than bearing the burdens that adults bear, because a lot of adults don't have to bear the kind of things that they have to do in the context of which they're bearing them. And that no child should have to think about. Without any, identifying information, I kind of wrote down some of the things that were talked about. And I think, a decent amount of us hear about these things, and it wasn't necessarily like new information, but to hear them talk about it was kind of devastating. They talked about parents being afraid to go outside, always having to be aware of their surroundings, particularly being scared about going into Portland because of the larger ICE presence there, targeting based on skin color. They brought up that, that's fair game now, even more than it was before. Scared for family members who don't speak English, what would happen to them if they get questioned. Talked about being referred to as aliens and how that made them feel, going days without food because they're scared of going grocery shopping, afraid of family being taken and having to be a parent to their younger siblings and hurting their plans for their future, staying inside because they had heard that ICE was outside, staying inside because they had heard that ICE was outside, having ICE parked near their house, same thing. Children getting groceries for others who didn't feel comfortable going outside, scared they're going to get a call from their family members that they've been sent to another country that they've never been to, thinking about ICE during school and being distracted from their studies, scared of how they would finish school if they were sent to another country. Coming home to an empty house and not knowing where their parents went. They also talked about, really kind of struck me as this kind of role reversal where, they would be texting their parents to make sure they got to work okay, or looking at their checking up on their parents' locations on their phones, which I said to them, like, that's not what you should be doing. That's what parents should be doing for their kids, not what kids should be doing for their parents. Being aware of certain vehicles, parents not letting them go to school, very anxious because they can't do a lot about it. Affects their social life because they're afraid to go out. They talked about noticing others not showing up at school very much. Sometimes some of them talked about taking parents to work themselves. So yeah, that was, I just want to thank those individuals for taking the time to do that and sharing some just really raw stuff. I do want to share a couple of bright spots. I will say a number of the students, they spoke very highly of the school and their teachers. They said they felt very supported by them. So that was nice to hear. They also, a number of them expressed an interest in participating in government more. There was a question about, did you know how to get in touch with council? And so both Councilor Cavalier and I provided information about, how to contact us and get more involved. So again, just want to thank, staff and Nextdoor Inc. for putting that together. I think it was tremendously valuable.
Thank you for your comments, Councilor Mitchell. I just, this is probably a question for Abigail Dustin. So, Amanda and I attended one. I think all of us have attended other sessions. When is the right time for, like, not that this is the wrong time, but is there going to be a more formalized output that we will have a chance to comment in addition to Nextdoor after the conclusion of the town hall? Kind of, are we missing an opportunity to provide feedback right now since we didn't provide feedback like Councilor Mitchell just did? Yeah, so maybe if Dustin, I'm not sure if that you got it for Abigail. Yeah.
Yeah, just so you know, I'm taking notes of to-do list and dispatching, so she'll probably likely discuss it with you all in your meetings and sessions with her, all the way from grant proposal, budget meeting, prospective dates that she'll have to schedule, all the way down to this. Okay. So I'm taking notes and dispatching right now to Alaska.
So I apologize if I jumped the gun on that.
I don't know if you did. It's just more or less like just unsure of what will be forthcoming in this overall effort. So I think just some insight from Abigail and Nextdoor about that would be helpful. And if we did miss an opportunity today to speak and give feedback with our experiences, we'll give it next time, that kind of thing.
Thanks. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Good job, Ben. You covered it. What Ben said and what Grant said, and I think that covers it.
Great, thanks. So we're doing it a little differently now. We're putting urban renewal at the end, which puts a little burden on the administrator, but we're here anyway. So this is how we're doing it now. So I will now suspend the city council meeting and hand the gavel over to Chair Stepina for the urban renewal agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll now call to order the River Renewal Agency board meeting. And any agenda additions or corrections? I'm assuming not. Well,
They're not.
There's nobody here from the audience signed up. I'm assuming there's nobody still online to speak to a renewal agency, right? Okay, so item number 4 is the consent agenda, which is the approval of the meeting minutes. Any discussion or any input to the meeting minutes prior to a motion? Then I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve the minutes.
Moved by Paulson.
Second.
Second by Mayor Blackburn. Anything further? Hearing nothing. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Consent agenda passes. Regular business items. Will?
Yeah, thank you. Chair Stepina, members of the agency board. First up is an amended resolution 2026 URA-1, which is a amended supplemental budget. Has already been adopted at your prior meeting. It had a typographical error in column that listed what the existing adopted budget was. So it was of no consequence to the substance or material of what was being decided at the meeting. It was just a formula error in an Excel spreadsheet. So the remedy for that is to have this stated in your packet and to have me testify in front of you right now. And so we have the amended supplemental budget that is doing exactly what the agency approved at your prior meeting.
Any questions about this for Will? None on mine? Okay. So there is a motion.
I move for the Urban Renewal Agency Board adopt the amended resolution 2026-URA-01, a supplemental budget for fiscal year 25-26.
Motion by Gaki,
I'll second.
second by Blackburn. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Passes. Next item.
Yeah.
Please.
Next up is intergovernmental agreement for URA administration of citywide projects. As discussed at the city council meeting today, we'll be bringing back adjustments to the language. But generally, this is meant to allow the agency to perform work for the city where the agency staff, its consultants, have a unique capability or skill set to help the city out. ORS 190 provides broad leeway for essentially any unit of local government to contract with any other unit of local government for any activity that either of one of them can do. So this is an opportunity to share resources, share skill sets, knowledge, and be more efficient. So the proposed contract is for those essentially one-off or ad hoc quick projects, or I guess in the bond situation, not so small. But where a 10% admin overhead is a reasonable approximation for the overhead and management effort that is being placed on the Urban Renewal Agency. So this will be a quick, efficient way to delegate projects. There still may be need for other IGAs where a project may be more involved, or this 10% overhead is not roughly proportionate to the amount of work on the agency. We do have an existing IGA, for instance, for administration of the Moderate Income Revolving Loan Fund that we also discussed earlier today. So, and that has a different type of compensation. So this is meant to be kind of an off-the-shelf method to assign work out, but does not preclude other methods through separate IGAs. So with that, if you want to approve tonight, that will allow us to keep moving for the bond campaign. And I committed to the city council again to bringing back some revised language about a continually updated Exhibit A.
Okay. So we discussed this earlier. Is there any new thoughts that we've had since then, Anna?
I promise not to beat a dead horse.
Noted.
Thank you, Will.
Anything further for questions for Will before a motion? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I move the Urban Renewal Agency Board authorize the agency administrator to sign the provided intergovernmental agreement for urban renewal administration of citywide projects and programs.
Moved by Polson,
Second?
second by Blackburn. Any further discussion? All those,
This will be as revised, right?
No, just tonight
Right,
approving as is,
and
and
then
then I will
we'll
bring
write
back a
later.
revised
Yeah.
amendment.
Yeah. No discussion.
Thank you.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Yes. Sorry, I can't take myself up me faster.
All good. Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Excellent. And then lastly, we have two contract awards related to the bond information and engagement campaign. So we had a big discussion about this at a prior meeting about the approach and the vendors we would choose and the activities and the budget. So now we're executing that strategy, and I'm signing engagement letters for those items which are underneath my signing authority, my level of signing authority. But two of the contracts in the preferred approach exceed 25,000. That's with Praxis and also the media buy with Bicoastal Media. So bringing those to the agency board, acting as the contract board for the agency to approve these contracts.
Paul, then Ben.
I don't feel super strongly about this, but this one rose to the level of I wanted to say something. This is like a city function and you're handling it for us. But I mean, and it's a gray area and it's fantastic to have the resource and to be able to target in the use of it. But it just seems like, gosh, this one should have been on the city agenda. So it's a gray area, but as it goes back and forth, that one sort of rose to the point of that, in my opinion.
And that's what the IGA, the prior IGA was completely about is under ORS 190, we could conceivably contract out to the library district to run this bond program for us. So we are contracting with, or the city is contracting with the agency to operate on its behalf of an activity that it is otherwise authorized to.
Okay, fair enough. So like, here's the project the administrator's doing for its client, the city. Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly right.
Ben?
In the suggested motion, it says the amount not to exceed $41,950. And in the recitals, or excuse me, under compensation, under agreement compensation 3, subsection A, it says $41,590.
Oh, thank you for that catch.
And also, I will admit, I am not the best math person. I wasn't sure where that number came from because I added up the stuff in Exhibit A and I didn't get that, but I could have very well made a mathematical error. So just between those three things, I wasn't quite sure what the actual amount was.
Yeah, it comes from this table of, 'cause we didn't approve, there was sort of levels of effort within the Praxis scope of work. So it goes with that, the approach that we decided upon on at the last meeting. So it's the sum of the table. I think it's page 25 of everything that's associated with Praxis.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And I think the correct number should be what's in the professional services agreement. So
Okay.
41,590.
Thank you.
Gladys?
Thank you. So I appreciate my peers' comments. My comment that I have is in reviewing both of these contracts, which I appreciate you will putting them together, is that, sometimes we make assumptions, right? And as I look through this, I don't explicitly see anything talking about the language that this content, whether that's digital content creation, printing, direct mail, all of that. I mean, I know I speak Spanish, right? So I'll definitely have some talking points prepared for the bond in Spanish, but I would just like for us to think about the Spanish speaking property owners that will be voting in this election. And, I think of my parents, they are citizens, they own a home here in town within the city limits. And I know that they would benefit from hearing some of this information as well. So I think my only suggestion is that we explicitly add that there will be creation of English and Spanish materials.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. And so this is just for the Praxis portion. The next door is who we're contracting with for the translation services, Latino focus group, Latino or Spanish radio public service announcement. All of that is happening. It's just happening through the next door, and it's a contract that didn't exceed 25,000. So I'm able to just, with the direction I have, deal with that.
Thank you. And I hear that. I think it's just important to understand that what is said in English doesn't always translate in Spanish. And I know that you're all thinking about that. But as you all are creating this material moving forward, that it's really important that we think about how this is messaged in multiple languages, just given that whatever's in English might take, 20 words. In Spanish, it might be 30, 40 words, for example. Thanks.
Yes, Thank you very much. Yeah, and top of mind as we've had scoping meetings with the next door.
Any additional questions, Amanda?
I don't know if this is, maybe this was like, should have been asked last time or whatever, but it just seems like a lot of money to spend on radio advertising. Like, is there a specific reason why I'm assuming they've done the research and like radio ads really get people to vote a certain way, but I don't know, like, to me, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, why is that so much more? Do we not have to pay for, like the mailer is pretty cheap. Like, are we paying for Facebook things or whatever? Like, I don't know. That's just something that jumped out at me. So, and I'm not even saying it's like debatable, but I'm just,
Yeah, no, I think it's worth noting, but yeah, I think to your point, it's like the last discussion we had is probably when we should have discussed that. Unless you wanted to take that up as a point now and
well, I guess it's just coming up more maybe like in my face because we are specifically setting aside that money for bicoastal media right now, I guess. Maybe that's why I'm noticing it more. But
Paul?
I hear you. Thanks for asking and wondering. I don't have any expertise in this area. I'm like trusting that they know what they're talking about, that this is a smart way to spend our, scarce advertising dollars. I trust that they know.
and that's kind of where I was assuming, but just wanted to say something. I don't know.
Lance?
Yeah, I think that's a great call out, that we should question everything that's presented in front of us. And, while I trust that they are experts and have done this before, if there's an opportunity for any sort of cost savings and, knowing that the power of social media is far greater than some of the radio ads in the past, for example. So I appreciate you bringing that point up, Counselor Gaki, as we have this discussion. Thanks.
Any additional questions for Will? And so I'd like to make a motion at this time. Keep in mind that the figure has to be corrected from 950 to.
I move the Urban Renewal Agency Board authorize the agency administrator to execute contracts for 2026 general obligation bond information and engagement with Praxis in the amount not to exceed $41,590 and Bicoastal Media in the amount not to exceed $36,000.
Motion by Paulson,
Second?
second by Blackburn. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Any administrator updates today?
Yes, there are. Thank you. April 17th, just wanted to remind everyone, they have bond speaker training and most people have RSVP'd for an option there. But then also on April 17th is the Taylor Avenue 30% Design Open House at Working Hands Brewery from 4 to 7. So for those folks who pick the second option for speaker training, if you want to head up to Working Hands Brewery and come look at designs and meet people, just want to have a reminder of that event.
Quick procedural, not procedural, just administrative thing. I tried to RSVP to the second one. It wouldn't let me. I don't know
Oh,
why.
okay. But that's the only one you want?
Mark me down for the second one. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. I'm assuming nothing from any agency members.
I will just say that this morning on the radio, Mark Bailey was interested in the joint URAC meeting, and we had a nice discussion about that. So, what our work is noticed and matters, and I emphasize the positive work again of the volunteers that's come up a lot of times tonight, and appreciate the committee for their hard work.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone else? Okay. With that, I will adjourn the Hood River Urban Renewal Agency Board meeting and pass the gavel back to Mayor Blackburn for City Council to be.
Great, and I will reopen our city council meeting about 8:05. Any thing else for the good of